Hi, everybody. I'm Amy. Welcome to my channel. Today, I have a very special guest. You may know her from her channel, Veronica Isles. Hello and welcome.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. I'm excited to be with you and doing this collaboration.
Yeah, we're both originally Chicago girls.
Yeah, super neat. We got a lot in common.
Yeah, and you're still in there in Chicago, and I moved.
Yeah, I did move, but I came back to Chicago. So yeah, so I feel like people do move away, but yeah, I did return.
Well, today, Veronica and I want to talk about something we think is really important that as fellow coaches in the manifesting community, and we've helped many, many people manifest specific people back, either crushes or exes or whatever. There's a common theme where people don't seem to realize that your inner world really is what's creating your outer world.
Yeah, absolutely. This sort of feeling that the assumptions I'm making on the world around me are actually affecting the world around me, including all of my relationships, especially my love relationship.
Right. So we both have stories of past relationships. Her story is going to be in this video. My story is going to be on her channel and her video. And you can check out the link below to her channel at Veronica Isles, and also the link to that video, which is part 2. And we're going to be discussing how we basically figure this out through experience.
Yeah, trial and error. Yeah, it was a lot of trial and error. It took me a while to really figure out, the gist of what I was doing. I finally got there, but yeah, hopefully the viewers don't have to take that length of time.
Yes, and that's why we're making the video. We're going to teach you the shortcuts that we learned through step-by-step trial and error experience.
So learn from our mistakes.
Please.
And get results.
So, yeah, and we're also going to give you some tips on how to make these adjustments more quickly, because when you first hear about how your inner world creates, especially in relationships, there's a tendency to not feel like you can change your story about the other person or about yourself. You shouldn't change the story. There's all sorts of different reasons people struggle.
Yeah, that they sort of hit these blocks, like they don't even realize they're telling a story, and then sort of this feeling like that they can change the story of how the other person sees them. Like that seems confusing, as if that's something that's fixed. But it is something.
Yes. Yeah, it seems fixed. Absolutely. Yeah. That's why both of us have these stories.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So tell us your story. What happened?
My story. Yes. Okay. So I had a boyfriend. This was many, many years ago, when I really I had kind of heard about this idea of thoughts having control over my life, but I just really didn't understand the sheer power that I had sort of within my situation. So I had this boyfriend, and I desperately wanted to get married to him. Like I just wanted that so badly. And he treated me awful. Like I constantly was telling this story about him, not valuing me, not respecting me, not, seeing my worth. And I mean, he did all of the most awful things that you could possibly imagine. Like he portrayed my story like to the letter. Like it was as if, I was writing it and he was just picking up on the feelings of what I thought I was worth, what I thought I was going to have in a relationship. He cheated on me. He talked bad to me. He disrespected me. He didn't appreciate anything that I did. But I mean, at that time I was really determined. And this is someone who also left me on a few different occasions. I attracted him back. Well, there was this one time, and this was about, I want to say 3 years into the relationship. And I was just determined, I'm going to get that marriage proposal. We're going to live happily ever after. Somehow this is going to work out. And this is somebody that just, I mean, he was with me, but he really was always trying to leave me, and would kind of throw that in my face too. Like he was always going to be out the door any second. So it was always on pins and needles. Like, is he going to leave me? Is he going to leave me?
Kind of like keeping you at arm's length all the time.
Yes.
That's how mine was. I was always like,
terrible. Well, and in any case, like I said, I got in my head, things are going to change. So it did. It kind of changed overnight. He did ask me to marry him. And for a few months, he was the complete opposite of what he had been. He adored me. He showed me off to his friends. He wanted to include me in all of his activities. Called me, checked in with me, said, I love you, called me his fiance. He got me a job with him. It was a server job. We were working as waiters at the time. So that sort of tells you how long ago this is. But yeah, I mean, he wanted me to cook for, like, he wanted me to bring in meals, like, to show his boss what a wonderful cook I was. Like, seriously, like, it was like night and day. But I mean, at this time, I didn't really know what I was doing. So I didn't really understand that it was my belief that things were going to change, why he had changed. And I was kind of confused and not really thinking it was going to last. And I didn't really still have that high of an opinion of myself.
Right.
So, obviously he changed like overnight again. Reverted to the old, like as if the good stuff was like this weird dream. Like, how on earth did that appear? And reverted to the old. We ended up parting ways, but I always used it as an example of, the fact that I had changed. He completely did like night and day, like complete change around, and then complete changed around for the worse again. But now I hold the consciousness of that he regrets, he misses me, I was the best thing in his life. And I tell this story all the time. And from time to time, he does contact me and he says those very things. He like begs me and then he kind of goes away. So it's like this validation that, the story that I've been telling all along is the exact thing that he's been enacting. It's not like I'm mind controlling him or something. It's that I'm attracting these very things in my life and expecting these things to happen. And thus they are.
Right. And can I just point out something I think is really interesting, since you know how it works now and you went through that whole process.
I can really figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. People think, oh, I don't expect that person to act that way. Yeah. They think like, I imagined 4 times that we were going to be happy together, so I expect that. And they're not realizing how much of this, what Neville Goddard calls it, like the mental conversation in your head.
Yeah, exactly.
How much of this narration in your head is basically for things you don't want to experience.
Right. Right. And you're sort of, you may be saying like an affirmation, oh, I want this, but then you're not following through with it. You may be visualizing, but then apart from the visualizations, you're not feeling it in your soul. You're still having these negative judgments on this person, especially what you think they're thinking of you. Like everyone always, you may say, I love them, I want them to be this way, but they don't like me. They don't want to have anything to do with me. That's what I think they're thinking. So then why, you're saying the affirmation, but then you're thinking they're thinking something opposite. So you never make that connection.
And that plays out in the natural world all the time with people who don't know anything about this. It's like having a crush on someone and that person's like, I like them, they probably wouldn't like me. Yeah. And you play out that dynamic.
Yeah. And it just plays it out perfectly. Like you're writing a movie and then you're watching the movie of your life. Like there's always that time delay, so people don't always put it together. But it's gonna play out perfectly to the letter, whatever you are thinking and feeling and assuming they are thinking and feeling. Like you're attracting all of your experiences, and it's that cool.
Right. And I think that for when I tell my story, it was, I just thought that's how he was.
Like fixed, like his personality.
Yeah, and he actually did not match the personality of any other person I've ever dated. So he didn't like send up any red flags like, oh, I have a pattern. Oh, it's me. I was just absolutely convinced, like, this is just how he is. And that sort of solidified me never changing my inner story about him.
Yeah. And you need to break out of that, decide to be bold, change that story, like rewrite, like it's a fresh blank page. Like I am writing the story of my future and my relationships and what I'm going to experience. And it can be done with anything, like, love relationships, money, career, anything, health, like physical appearance even. I mean, pretty much anything. Those stories that we're telling are so important.
They are. And I think people, because I have a lot of clients who, especially when it comes to matters of the heart, this seems to be, it's not harder to grasp. It just seems more like there's another person there and I have to, interact with them versus, I told this funny story the other day to a client as an example. I'm like, look, you can manifest a cup of coffee because you're not like imagining having a free cup of coffee. And then when you stop imagining it, you then tell the story like coffee hates me. And as soon as it gets on the counter at Starbucks, it like throws itself off the counter and like mass suicide because it doesn't want to be, it doesn't want me to drink it. Yeah. Like that's an extra story that is being followed up by the positive visualization.
But people don't realize that that's a visualization too. They think the visualization is just the one that they sit down to do and label as a visualization. But the visualizations are also happening throughout the day with these assumptions and these intentions that people are unknowingly sending out, and this idea that this other person, maybe you love them, you want to be with them, but they don't want to have anything to do with you, or maybe they don't notice you, like it's a crush, like they just don't care, like you're not the kind of person that they would date. Like you need to keep changing these stories as a whole, and like your life will change around you.
Yeah. So I have the thing I tell people is like, look, you don't have to change your story about someone. A lot of people don't. You could just move on to someone else and ask someone else to comment, right?
Difficult. If it's too difficult, like you are just convinced this person is just going to be this way and you're unwilling to change your story, then honestly, don't even do the visualizations or affirmations, because it's going to cancel each other out. So, if you want to be with this person, you have to change your story about them, or it will never work. You will sit years and years and not get any results.
Right, because the external can't change first, and they are part of the external.
Yeah.
So I tell people, like, look, in the natural world, you'll get a lot of advice, just move on, find someone else, right? But if you want to manifest, then you have to be the one to change your inner world first before you have any proof that they're going to rise to the occasion.
Right. Zero proof. Even seeing
proof.
The complete opposite of it. You have to be bold. You have to be willing to, see a higher state. Like, for example, like with my old boyfriend, like somehow I just saw the vision of this happening. Like I wanted it so badly, and I just aligned myself with it. And man, he changed night and day, but I didn't know how to sustain it at the time. I didn't really know what I was doing. So yeah, so do learn from my mistakes. If you want that like fairy tale romance, like keep envisioning that and keep aligning with that and keep, telling that story. It's that simple. It's like stupid simple.
It is stupid simple. And I think people are afraid to do it because they're afraid of being disappointed or being embarrassed. But look, there's no one in your head but you.
Yeah, I love that. Like no one's forcing you to think a certain thought or a certain way, or keeping you from thinking these beautiful thoughts. No one's policing your mind,
Right. Yeah, no one's like monitoring you in that sense. Like, so this is like the total freedom you have. Try it. Just see. You have nothing to lose by changing your story, because you're either going to stay the same.
Yeah.
And you're going to be like, this didn't work, which does not how it works. They will change.
It always works. It just always does.
But before you start, that's what you think. And then, or you're going to end up proving that it works. And you're going to be like, oh, well, that was a little bit more simple than I thought it was going to be. And it just takes that not even confidence. Just, you have to be, like you said, bold. You just got to dare to do it.
Yeah, you really do. And if you think about it, like all the great inventions, all the great discoveries, like people envisioned something greater than was, in the current moment. And like relationships can work out. Like you can have the love of your life. Like you don't have to struggle. You really don't. It's those stories that you don't even realize are within your control. I think a lot of times, it's this feeling like I don't have control over that. Like they have control over me.
Right. Exactly. Cool. So thank you for joining me on my channel. We're going to wrap up this part of it, and you can go to the second part of Veronica's channel, where I'm going to tell my story about a boyfriend that I had, which you got way farther with him than I did. I didn't even get an engagement. I must have been more negative. Anyway, I'm actually very grateful that I didn't marry him. So thank you so much, Veronica, for being on my channel.
Of course. I'm excited. Yeah.
All right, cool. So see you over on Veronica's channel.